Oh boy, let's piss off some hikers.
How are you going to do that?
In this video, I will be ranking Utah's mighty 5 national parks: Arches, Bryce, Canyonlands, Capitol Reef, and Zion.
Yeah, I saw your rankings list. Godspeed with that. Wait until people see what you did to their favorite national park. You're in trouble.
As always, guys, timestamps and chapters will be down below. This year, I spent almost 30 days hiking and backpacking Utah's mighty 5. I spent real time in each national park and know its strengths and weaknesses. While Utah does not by any means have a bad national park, the mere nature of ranking things means that one national park will come in last. Inevitably, I will put someone's favorite national park in last place. Of course, this ranking is just my opinion based on my preferences and experiences at each national park. Let me know how you would rank Utah's mighty 5 down below in the comments. I created a system to rank each national park. You can see those right here, but briefly, 3 categories get 15 points each, and that is the quantity, the quality, and the diversity of the hiking, the backpacking, and the scenery at the national park. Then I have 5 categories with 10 points each. They include solitude, plant and animal life, other non-hiking recreational activities, amenities, and revisitability. Ease of access to and within the national park is the final category worth 5 points. And finally, I do have a bonus category which represents something super unique to the national park that I absolutely love, that I either wanted to give more points to, or in bad cases subtract from, or is a means to resolve any ties that I had when creating this ranking system. Okay, let's begin ranking Utah's mighty 5 national parks. Let the controversy begin. In 5th place is Arches National Park.
You suck!
I know, for many people, Arches is their favorite national park in Utah and one of their favorites across the country. So let's look at the hiking in Arches National Park. Arches has less than 40 miles of total trails, with the longest trail being Devil's Garden and its various side trails at just over 8.5 miles. Almost all the trails in Arches are under 2 or 3 miles, which is a bit disappointing for me. I like longer trails. That being said, Arches does have some amazing trails such as Fiery Furnace, Devil's Garden, Delicate Arch, Park Avenue, Double Arch, and the Windows Trail. All of those trails are amazing trails. I have a playlist linked below with videos for all of these trails. The trails in Arches are quality, without a doubt, but they're just not enough and not long enough. Therefore, I gave Arches a score of 11 out of 15 for hiking. Next, let's talk about backpacking in Arches National Park. There are only 2 places that you could backpack in Arches. The first location is the 8-ish mile loop of Devil's Garden. However, the short distance makes it better suited for a day hike than a backpack in my opinion. The second place that you could backpack in Arches is Courthouse Wash. And Courthouse Wash is divided into Upper and Lower Courthouse Wash. Lower Courthouse Wash is an approximately 11-mile out and back hike with 1 campsite, and Upper Courthouse Wash is an approximate 8-mile out and back hike with 2 campsites. No dispersed camping is allowed or permitted in Arches National Park. The limited backpacking options and short backpacks definitely hurt Arches' score in this category. I gave Arches a score of 7 out of 15 for backpacking. Next, let's talk about scenery. Arches has some of the most stunning scenery with 5 distinct areas. It is a red rock wonderland with over 2,000 natural bridges, hundreds of soaring spires or pinnacles, massive rock fins, and giant balancing rocks. It is a showcase of geology. However, its score is hurt a little bit by the lack of diversity compared to other national parks, as sometimes the hikes to the various arches can become a little repetitive. Still, for scenery, Arches receives a score of 11 out of 15. Next up is solitude. While solitude is hard to find in Arches, it's not impossible. Arches is the 20th most visited national park, with just under 1.5 million people visiting the park in 2024. That is a lot of people for a small park with few trails. You have tour bus hikers, Instagram hikers, wannabe YouTubers. It can sometimes feel like an assembly line of hikers on some of the trails. I've been to Arches National Park twice, and I could say that the timed entry program has helped a little bit. And some ways to find some solitude in the park is to start very early or hike late into the night. That's the best chance to avoid crowds. Also, avoiding the most popular months helps. I went in April and it was starting to get busy, but it wasn't crazy. Also, to avoid some crowds and find some real solitude, consider doing the Fiery Furnace Trail. You need a permit to do it. They're very competitive, but I really enjoyed my time at Fiery Furnace. I felt like I was alone for the first time in Arches National Park. Also, Devil's Garden Loop is another place where you can find some solitude. It is still decently popular, but it's not as popular as the Windows section or Park Avenue or Delicate Arch. Arches therefore gets a score of 5 out of 10 for solitude. Next up is animal and plant life. And here my bias is going to show. I absolutely love Utah's high plateau desert environment. Sure, it doesn't have the plant and animal life of Montana or the Pacific Northwest or Appalachia, but it has hardy and iconic plants and animals that live in this desert environment. Some examples include the Utah juniper, the two-pine pinyon, Mormon tea, 9 species of cacti, several lizards and snakes. There's also 50 different species of mammals and over 200 species of birds. Overall, I love the animal and plant life in Arches because while it is sparse, it makes you appreciate it. So I gave Arches a score of 7 out of 10 in plant and animal life. This might be a little high, but again, this is my bias showing here. I love this environment. All right, guys, so next up is what other recreational activities exist in Arches National Park. In addition to hiking and backpacking, other recreational activities you can enjoy in Arches include rock climbing, canyoneering, auto touring, scenic drives, mountain biking, road biking, ranger programs, and stargazing. Really, the only thing missing from Arches National Park is some water activities. So I've knocked down the score just a little bit for that, but overall, Arches has some amazing diversity of recreational activities that you can do within the park, and it gets a score of 8 out of 10. So next, let's talk about the amenities at Arches National Park. Arches has one visitor center with public bathrooms and where you could get water. It has one campground with 51 sites, which is very competitive. I've gone to Arches twice now, and I haven't been able to camp in that campground. It always sells out very quickly. However, to mitigate that, you do have plenty of BML land where you can camp in and around. You also have several different campgrounds. You have nearby Dead Horse Point State Park. There's plenty of alternatives to camping within Arches if you just can't find a place in Arches. Also, you have Moab. It's about 10 miles south of the park, has everything you could possibly want. There's gas, groceries, gear stores, showers, laundry, hostels, and other hotels and lodging are available there. The amenity score for Arches National Park is hurt a little bit, given that most of the amenities are not actually within the park. However, given that Arches is so close to Moab and that Moab has everything you could possibly need, I gave the amenity score for Arches an 8 out of 10. Next, let's talk about the revisitability of Arches National Park. Arches is a stunning red rock wilderness. I cannot understate how beautiful Arches is to visit. The desert environment, the arches, the massive fins, the spires are all amazing. However, the fact that I've been to Arches National Park twice, the very limited hiking and backpacking trail options, and the fact that I have already done almost every trail within the park does hurt the score a bit. I am looking forward to maybe going back and backpacking Courthouse Wash, and I think that will be fun and something I could look forward to. So overall, I gave Arches a revisitability score of 6 out of 10. Next, let's talk about the ease of access to Arches National Park. Arches does have a major airport in Salt Lake, about 3.5 hour drive. It is neither very far nor very close, so it gets a moderate score on that. However, navigating within Arches National Park is quite easy given its compact nature. You have a scenic drive that takes you from north to south. It is really easy to navigate within Arches National Park. As a result, I gave Arches National Park a 4 out of 5 on ease of access. Finally, I gave Arches National Park 3 bonus points. First, I gave Arches National Park for its largest concentration of arches anywhere in the world, certainly in the United States. Second, I gave Arches a second point because I just loved hiking in Arches. It's just a geological wonderland. It is a red rock wonderland. The hikes, while very short, are amazing in Arches National Park, so I had to give it an extra point, an additional love. And finally, I gave Arches a third bonus point as a tiebreaker because 2 parks were tied for the same score, and I preferred Arches subjectively. Arches National Park has a total score of 70 out of 100. It currently sits in 21st place out of 35 national parks that I've been to. I would recommend Arches National Park to anyone, but especially those who are new hikers or those who really enjoy shorter hikes to stunning views. Let's continue with the ranking. In 4th place is Capitol Reef National Park.
What the hell is wrong with you?
This park is often overlooked. It is one park, but it has 3 very distinct districts that offer different types of hiking and environments to explore. Capitol Reef is famous for 2 things. First, the Water Pocket Fold, which is an exposed monocline that stretches over 100 miles. And 2, the famous Capitol domes made of beautiful Navajo stone. Let's talk about the hiking in Capitol Reef National Park. This park has over 120 miles of hiking trails, from shorter hikes to longer hikes that are more challenging. It has the second most total miles of hiking trails of the Mighty 5. In Cathedral Valley District, you have a 57-mile dirt scenic road that takes you through the remote and stunning desert environment featuring stunning monoclines and volcanic dikes. The best hikes in this district include Jailhouse Rock, Temple Rock, Lower Cathedral Valley Overlook, Upper South Desert Overlook, Upper Cathedral Valley Overlook, Morel Cabin Trail, and the stunning Cathedral Trail. And finally, but not least, the Temples of the Sun and Moon trails. In the Frida district, you have a lush green environment in the middle of a desert oasis thanks to the Fremont River. Here you have a variety of hikes along a river, into washes, to see various arches and natural bridges. The best hikes in the Frida district to me are Cassidy Arch, Hickman Bridge, Golden Throne, and Grand Wash Trail. These hikes are all on the shorter side. Finally, you have the Water Pocket District. Here you have a scenic drive that takes you to the highest concentration of hiking trails in Capitol Reef. You will explore the infamous Water Pocket Fold with hikes into canyons, washes, gulches, and overlooks of the Water Pocket Fold. The trails here are much longer and better for more experienced hikers. With plenty of trails and different environments to explore in the 3 districts, Capitol Reef gets a high score for hiking of 12 out of 15. Next, let's talk about backpacking in Capitol Reef National Park. The park offers a variety of different backpacking options. While there is no backpacking in the Frida district and very limited backpacking in the Cathedral Valley district, the Water Pocket district offers several different backpacking options. You have Hall Creek Narrow, Upper Molly Twist Canyon, Lower Molly Twist Canyon, Sheets Gulch, Slot Canyon, and all of those trails are 20 miles or more. There are some other trails that you can do as a backpack as well, and you can also combine some of these trails together to make an even longer loop in the Water Pocket District. When compared to Arches, Capitol Reef just has more backpacking options. Therefore, I give Capitol Reef a score of 11 out of 15 for backpacking. While there is plenty of hiking options and backpacking options, I did knock the score down just a little because the backpacking options are kind of similar into Slot Canyons, and I would like to see just a little more variety, but otherwise it's still a great park to go backpacking in. Next, let's talk about the scenery at Capitol Reef National Park. This park offers a very diverse scenery with each district offering a different aspect of the park. For example, in the Cathedral Valley district, you have a colorful and expansive desert environment dotted by huge monoclines, Bentuan hills, volcanic dikes, and crags. In the Frida district, you have a lush green riparian zone along the Fremont River with orchards, Navajo sand domes, arches, bridges, and historical pioneer buildings. In the Water Pocket District, you have the nearly 100-mile-long wrinkle in the Earth's crust, a classic geological monocline. This area is known for view tops across the water pocket and hikes into slot canyons below. While the scenery is perhaps a little better in Arches, the diversity of scenery that Capitol Reef provides pushes the score a little higher. As a result, I give Capitol Reef a score of 12 out of 15 for scenery and scenery diversity. Next, let's talk about Solitude. This park is the 23rd most visited park in 2024 with over 1.4 million visitors. The amount of solitude you can experience will depend on which district you plan to go. Solitude is harder to find in the Frida district as it is the nerve cell of the park. Most of the popular shorter hikes, the campground, the visitor center, the Gifford House, the historical aspect is in the Frida district. Therefore, it just sees so many more people. Here, the only way you could really find some solitude is by hiking at early dawn or late into the afternoons. Trails like the popular Hickman Trail, Grand Wash, and Cassidy Arch see a lot of hikers in competition for even parking. It can be a zoo at these trails at times. Therefore, get there early. If you start early, you can have some solitude while hiking these trails. Solitude is much easier to find in the less visited Cathedral Valley District and Water Pocket District. I'd imagine 9 out of 10 visitors of the park do only the Frida District, and they don't even bother touching the other 2 districts. So I would say if you want solitude, visit those other 2 districts and you will find plenty of solitude there. Finally, you can always avoid the most popular months to enjoy some more solitude as well. So while the Frida district can feel a bit packed like Arches at times, Capitol Reef does have plenty of amazing trails in the other districts that you can find some lone time and avoid the crowds. As a result, I gave Capitol Reef a score of 7 out of 10 for solitude. Next, let's talk about the different animal and plant life diversity you can see at Capitol Reef National Park. There are over 1,164 different species in Capitol Reef, which includes 233 species of birds, 58 species of mammals, 16 species of reptiles, 13 species of fish, 5 species of amphibian, and 842 different species of plants. Life is not only more prevalent, but also visible in Capitol Reef National Park. As to plant life, you have not only the normal coniferous trees that you see in other parks in Utah, but you also see ponderosa pines, bristlecone pines at higher elevation. Additionally, you even have some deciduous trees like the Fremont cottonwood or oak trees near the river. The desert environment also offers plenty of wildflowers, grasses, shrubs, and cacti. As for animal life, you'll see most of that in the Frida district near the water of the Fremont River. Overall, the diversity of the ecosystems in Capitol Reef simply supports more life than Arches. As a result, Capitol Reef gets a score of 8 out of 10 for animal and plant life. Next, let's talk about the other recreational activities that you could do in Capitol Reef National Park. Those include bikepacking the Cathedral Valley Loop, mountain biking the Cathedral Valley Loop, rock climbing, canyoneering, auto touring, driving the amazing scenic drives of Cathedral Valley Loop, or looping the fold. You also have ranger programs and amazing stargazing in Capitol Reef. While rock climbing is better in Arches, the scenic drives and the biking options are better at Capitol Reef. There are plenty of different recreational activities in Capitol Reef. As a result, I gave the park an 8 out of 10 for recreational activities. Next, let's talk about the amenities at Capitol Reef National Park. This park has one visitor center in the Frida District with public restrooms and where you can refill water. It also has one front country campsite with 71 sites. While competitive, I found it easier to reserve a camping site here than I did at Arches. This park also has 2 free primitive campgrounds, one in Cathedral Valley and another one at Cedar Mesa in the Water Pocket District. If you can't camp within the park, there is ample alternative campsites and dispersed camping options in the BLM land and United States Forestry Service land surrounding the park. While there's no food, gas, general store, laundry, or showers within the park, the historic Gifford House does sell sweet treats and their amazing pies. But there's also the small town of Torrey, about 15 minutes away from the visitor center. Torrey does have a few gas stations, a small general store, a grocery store, and it has a laundromat. I didn't find an easy place where you could get a shower that's public. However, I just reserved a night in the RV camp on the night before I left and took a shower there. Overall, I gave Capitol Reef a score of 5 out of 10 for amenities. Next, let's talk about the revisitability of Capitol Reef National Park. I spent about 3.5 days in this park and did not come even close to seeing everything this park has to offer. I maybe saw a third of it. Namely, I barely explored the Water Pocket Fold District. I want to go back, camp at the primitive campsite at Cedar Mesa, do the several day hikes in the area, and then go backpack Halls Creek Narrows, Upper Molly Twist Creek, or Lower Molly Twist Creek. Those look like amazing backpacking opportunities. Also, the Cathedral Valley Loop scenic drive was amazing, but I will admit, towards the end of that day, I was getting tired of being on the dirt road. It took almost all day to do the scenic drive plus all the hikes. If you don't stop for every hike, you could do it in about 6 hours. I spent probably 8 or 9 there, and towards the end, I was starting to get even a little tired. That being said, it's still gorgeous. You should do it at least once. I probably would do it again, but I'm more focused on the Water Pocket District personally. Also in the Frida District, Cassidy Arch was stunning. The view from Cassidy Arch was absolutely beautiful, and Hickman Bridge was another hike that I would do again without question in Capitol Reef. I am just itching to get back to the Water Pocket District and explore those canyons. As a result, Capitol Reef gets a revisibility score of 7 out of 10. So let's talk about ease of access to Capitol Reef National Park. Salt Lake City is about a 3.5-hour drive to this park. It is a moderate length drive to a major airport, so it gets a pretty moderate score. However, Capitol Reef does have some unique shape, which makes driving within the park a little more difficult. For example, the northern portion of Cathedral Valley Loop, you're on a dirt scenic road. To get to the Water Pocket District, you're on a dirt scenic road. So it's a little more stretched out than, let's say, Arches, which is very compact. As a result, Capitol Reef gets an ease of access score of 3 out of 5. Finally, I gave Capitol Reef 2 bonus points. First, I gave it for the historic nature of the Frida District, the orchards, the Gifford House. I actually thought I was going to dislike that part of the national park, but I found it beautiful. I loved learning about the history. Being able to also eat locally sourced pie in the middle of the day was awesome. The pie tasted so good, so I gave it an extra bonus point. I also gave it a second bonus point because Capitol Reef is known for the Water Pocket Fold. To my knowledge, it's the longest exposed monocline in the United States, if not the world, so that deserves its own point as well. So overall, Capitol Reef has a total score of 75 out of 100 and currently sits in 16th place out of 35 national parks. I love this park because you could spend an entire day in the Cathedral Valley District, another full day or 2 in the Frida District, and then spend 3 or 4 days in the Water Pocket Fold District and still not see everything this park has to offer. Do not sleep on this park. Capitol Reef National Park is fantastic. All right, guys, so let's continue with ranking the Almighty 5. So in third place is Bryce Canyon National Park.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
Bryce Canyon is a small but magical park. Ebenezer Bryce, one of the first pioneers to settle this place, described it as a hell of a place to lose a cow. This park is known for its stunning amphitheaters of hoodoos and vibrant colors. Bryce is about 1/2 the size of Arches and 1/10 the size of Canyonlands. Despite this fact, Bryce punches well above its weight. Let's talk about the hiking in Bryce Canyon National Park. For such a small park, Bryce Canyon has over 55 miles of trails. Most of the trails are on the shorter to moderate side. The only longer trail that Bryce has is the Under the Rim Trail, which is approximately 23 miles. Otherwise, all the other trails fall between 1 and 8-ish miles on average. I have placed on screen right there all the hikes that I'm aware of in Bryce Canyon, though I do know there might be 1 or 2 more. Bryce Canyon has the 4th most total miles of hiking in Utah's Mighty 5. The best hikes in Bryce Canyon, in my opinion, are the Fairyland Loop Trail, the Figure 8 Loop Trail, the Under the Rim Trail, the Rim Trail, and finally, Ridge Springs Loop Trail. Bryce Canyon has about 15 more miles of hiking trails than Arches, but has about 70 miles fewer than Capitol Reef. Despite this fact, I still gave Bryce Canyon a score of 12 out of 15 for hiking. I did this largely because of how stunning Bryce Amphitheater is, and the fact that 2 of my favorite hiking trails in Utah's Mighty 5 were in Bryce Canyon National Park. Next, let's talk about backpacking in Bryce Canyon National Park. This park only offers 2 backpacking options. The first option is Rig Springs Loop Trail, which is a short, approximately 9-mile backpack perfect for a single overnight or beginner backpackers. The second backpacking option is the 23-mile Under the Rim Trail, with plenty of campsites making it ideal for overnight backpacking or multi-night backpacking. Both of these backpacking options offer different scenery from each other and from other places in the park. Additionally, both of these backpacks have significant elevation gain and loss. On the screen right here, I have a description of each hike. If you would like to watch my backpack of the Under the Rim Trail, click here. And if you would like to watch my day hike of the Rig Springs Loop Trail, please click there. Capitol Reef simply has more backpacking options than Bryce or Arches. However, backpacking in Bryce Canyon was amazing and I really enjoyed the Under the Rim Trail. As a result, I gave Bryce Canyon a score of 10 out of 15 for backpacking, a score that's 3 points better than Arches National Park and 1 point less than Capitol Reef National Park. Next, let's talk about the scenery and scenery diversity of Bryce Canyon National Park. This park sits at the top of the Grand Staircase, which is an immense sequence of sedimentary rock layers, which is a layered cake of pink cliffs, gray cliffs, white cliffs, vermilion cliffs, and chocolate cliffs. The Grand Staircase stretches from the top, which is Bryce Canyon, over 100 miles through Zion and into the Grand Canyon. This park is world-renowned for Bryce Amphitheater and its vibrant colors. It has the largest concentration of hoodoos anywhere in the world. Hoodoos are tall, thin, irregular-shaped spires of rock that project upward from the amphitheater bottom. Bryce Canyon, and especially Bryce Amphitheater, is a special place. This place has captured the imagination of people for millennia. It is a place that is woven into the legends of early inhabitants. A native legend says that before there were natives here, the legend people resided in Bryce Canyon. But because they were bad, the coyote god turned them all into rocks. Bryce Canyon is a place where Ebenezer Bryce's cows got lost. It is a place that screams surprise to Stephen Mather when he first saw it. The first time you see Bryce Amphitheater, you understand why they call it a Bryce moment. It simply takes your breath away when you first see it. Bryce Amphitheater is simply the star of this show. However, because the park covers a vertical distance of over 2,000 feet, the park has 3 distinctive ecological or climate zones. You have a spruce and fir forest, you have a ponderosa pine forest, and you have a pinyon and juniper pine forest. The park, for some diversity, also has a waterfall and a cave, but it's not really a cave in any real sense. It's more like a rock overhang. While the scenery in Capitol Reef is way more diverse, the scenery in Bryce Canyon is simply more awe-inspiring. As a result, Bryce Canyon gets a score of 12 out of 15 for scenery and scenery diversity, the same score as Capitol Reef and 1 point better than Arches. Next, let's talk about the crowds and solitude you could expect at Bryce Canyon National Park. Bryce is the 15th most visited national park in 2024 with over 2.5 million people. Despite being nearly half the size of Arches, Bryce received 1 million more visitors in 2024. This is the biggest drawback to Bryce Canyon. The Under the Rim Trail and the Rig Springs Loop Trail do offer some solitude. Those trails are typically longer and harder hikes and a little too difficult for most of the touristy hikers who just want to see the views. These are the only trails that you could expect some degree of solitude throughout the day. Otherwise, if you're not on the trails at first light, good luck. Popular trails like the Fairyland Loop Trail, the Figure 8 Loop Trail, or the Rim Trail are infested with people after 10 a.m. I started the Fairyland Loop Trail at sunrise and largely had it to myself. But as I was finishing the loop, I literally saw waves of hikers getting off buses to hike. It was just not my cup of tea. Additionally, avoiding the more popular months may be a great idea for this park in particular. As a result, I gave Bryce Canyon a score of 4 out of 10 for solitude, 1 point less than Arches and 3 points less than Capitol Reef. Next, let's talk about the animal and plant life at Bryce Canyon National Park. The higher elevation and cooler temperatures at Bryce Canyon supports a higher degree of biodiversity. As for animals, Bryce has over 59 species of mammals, including the Utah prairie dog, the pronghorn sheep, mountain lions, and an occasional black bear. It also has 175 species of birds, 11 species of reptiles, including the venomous Great Basin rattlesnake, 4 species of amphibians, and over 1,000 insects. Bryce sits atop of a high plateau surrounded by deserts. Its higher elevation provides cooler temperatures and better habitats for plants. As a result, Bryce has a more hospitable environment and provides a relatively lush and green environment. Wildflowers and forests dominate the landscape. The only thing missing from Bryce is a riparian zone, as there's no river in the national park, though there is a water ditch that goes through it. Bryce, in comparison to Canyonlands, Arches, or Capitol Reef, is simply just more green. As a result, Bryce Canyon gets a score of 9 out of 10 for animal and plant life. Next, let's talk about the other recreational activities at Bryce Canyon National Park. Of Utah's mighty 5, Bryce likely has the fewest other recreational activities, yet it still has plenty. They include biking. There's an 18-mile shared use path from Red Canyon all the way to Bryce Canyon. Bike rentals are available. You have scenic driving. You also have some of the best night skies I saw in Utah's mighty 5. You could also do horseback riding. And finally, Bryce Canyon has some amazing ranger programs. However, when comparing it to the other national parks, Bryce just has fewer recreational options. For example, there's no rock climbing or canyoneering in Bryce Canyon. As a result, I gave Bryce Canyon a slightly lower score of 7 out of 10 for other recreational activities. Next, let's talk about the amenities at Bryce Canyon National Park. The park has one visitor center near the entrance of the park with public restrooms and where you can refill water. There's also 2 front country campgrounds. North Campground has over 100 sites, and Sunset Campground has about 100 sites. Each campground has a general store with public showers. The general store is very well stocked with food and other essentials. You also have a lodge which goes for about $175 per night. If you can't stay within the park, the Ruby Inn RV Park and Campground is just a few miles outside of Bryce Canyon. It has 250 sites. It has showers, laundry, and even hot tubs. While there is no gas within the park, there are gas stations just 3 miles outside the park. There is no shortage of food options in Bryce Canyon National Park. Whether from the general store or the many restaurants within or just outside the national park, you'll have plenty of places to choose from. Bryce has some of the best amenities I've seen from any national park, and definitely the best of Utah's Mighty Five. As a result, Bryce gets a perfect score of 10 out of 10 for amenities. Next, let's talk about the revisitability of Bryce Canyon National Park. I spent 3.5 days in this park, and I did almost all the trails there. Still, I would come back to this park in a heartbeat just to hike the Fairyland Loop Trail and the Figure 8 Loop Trail. There's also some other activities that I didn't do. I didn't do any horseback riding in the park. Ruby Inn Complex has some ATV options and mountain biking, though not directly in the park, right next to the park. And also there's that 18-mile shared use bike path that goes from Red Canyon to Bryce Canyon. I would love to do that bike path as well. That looked very pretty when I was there. And finally, the stargazing and the sunrise at Bryce Canyon was phenomenal. While there's little left for me to do in this park is an example that the scenery alone is worth a revisit, and I would come back just to see the scenery again. As a result, Bryce Canyon gets a revisitability score of 9 out of 10. Next, let's talk about the ease of access to Bryce Canyon National Park. Salt Lake City and Las Vegas both have major airports, and each are about 4-hour drive to this park. This is a slightly longer drive than any of the other parks of the Mighty Five. I was inclined to give it a 2 out of 5. However, navigating within the park was very easy and made even easier by the buses offered by the park. As a result, I gave an ease of access score of 3 out of 5 to Bryce Canyon National Park. Finally, let's talk about bonus points. Bryce Canyon got 3 bonus points for me. I really like this park. The first bonus point was for the amazing and unique geology. The Bryce moment, the moment when you first see Bryce Amphitheater, is real. Second, I gave another bonus point for the magical sunrise I experienced over Bryce Amphitheater. Finally, I gave a third bonus point for 2 of the best hiking experiences I experienced in Utah, Fairyland Loop Trail and the Figure 8 Loop Trail. Those were absolutely amazing trails. So overall, Bryce Canyon National Park got a total score of 79 out of 100 and currently sits in 12th out of 35 national parks that I've been to. Let's continue with ranking Utah's Mighty Five. In second place is Canyonlands National Park. Edward Abbey described this park as the most weird, wonderful, magical place on earth. There's nothing else like it anywhere. Canyonlands is one park with 5 very distinct districts and endless opportunities. It is Utah's largest national park. It has a vast, rugged wilderness sculpted by forces of water and gravity. It is renowned for spectacular canyons, mesas, buttes, arches, spires. Canyonlands is a geological and recreational wonderland. Let's talk about the hiking at Canyonlands National Park. This park has over 200 miles of total hiking trails over its various districts. Canyonlands has the most total miles of hiking trails of Utah's Mighty Five, with each district offering a different hiking experience. For example, the Island in the Sky district is aptly named. It is a broad, level mesa situated between the Colorado and Green rivers. It is elevated more than 1,000 feet above the surrounding basin and canyons. It is the most visited and easily accessed district of Canyonlands. I have put a list of hikes in the Island of the Sky district, and you could pause to find the hike that most interests you. The best hikes in this district are Mesa Arch, Grandview Point, Murphy Point, Aztec Butte, White Rim Overlook, Gooseberry Canyon, Syncline Loop, Lathrop Canyon, and Upheaval Dome. This district has about 60 total miles of hiking trails. The Needles District is the second most visited district in Canyonlands. It's named for the colorful red and white banded sandstone spires or needles that dominate the rock formations in this district. Its landscape is a mixture of rocky pinnacles, canyons, and grassy meadows. The most popular hikes here are Chesler Loop, Druid Arch, Confluence Overlook, Slick Rock Trail, and the Joint Trail. This district of Canyonlands has an extensive network of hiking trails. It has at least 70 miles of total hiking trails. The third district of Canyonlands is the Maze District. It is the least accessible and most remote district. It is a wild, rugged, and remote area characterized by deep canyons. To get here, you have to travel on a long dirt road. This district has about 40 miles of total trails. Some of these trails are primitive and require some route finding skills, some rock scrambling, and even some basic rock climbing equipment. The best hikes in this district include Harvester Scene Loop, Maze Overlook Trail, Golden Staircase, and Chocolate Drops Trail. This is one place you may not want to go hiking alone. Finally, you have the Horseshoe Canyon District, which is a standalone district with approximately 15 miles of trails. Overall, Canyonlands has short, moderate, and long distance hikes. It has hikes along the mesa, up buttes, 2 arches, through canyons, and desert grasslands. There's no shortage of hiking options. Canyonlands has 80 more miles of hiking trails than Capitol Reef, 110 more than Zion, 145 more than Bryce, and 170 more than Arches. As a result, Canyonlands receives a score of 13 out of 15 for hiking, 2 points better than Arches, 1 point better than Capitol Reef and Bryce Canyon. I simply loved hiking in this park. Next, let's talk about backpacking in Canyonlands National Park. This park offers several different backpacking options. The best district for backpacking is the Needles District, hands down. With over 70 miles of interconnecting trails and several backcountry campsites, this is an ideal place to backpack. Additionally, the Chesler Loop is a famous backpacking location in Canyonlands. You can spend several days backpacking in the Needles District without seeing it all. I backpacked Chesler Park Loop. You can see the video here. You can also backpack in the Island in the Sky District, which offers some mesa top hiking with descents deeply down to the canyons and basin below. Finally, you can also backpack in the Maze District and explore the deep and twisting canyons of that district. Hands down, Canyonlands offers the greatest concentration of backpacking trails of Utah's Mighty Five. As a result, Canyonlands gets a very high score of 13 out of 15 for backpacking, 2 points better than Capitol Reef, 3 points better than Bryce, and 6 points better than Arches. Next, let's talk about the scenery and scenery diversity of Canyonlands National Park. Canyonlands is an intricate landscape of canyons carved into the Colorado Plateau by 2 large rivers, the Colorado River and the Green River. The park features a rugged, high desert environment full of countless canyons, towering mesas, buttes, fins, arches, spires, all carved from layers of sedimentary rock. Each district offers different scenery. For example, the Island in the Sky district offers views of the basin and canyons below from the large mesa top. The Needles District puts you in the middle of canyons and amazing rock formations and beautiful color spires and pinnacles. The Maze District allows you a wild and rugged experience hiking into canyons on primitive trails. Horseshoe Canyon District brings you into canyons and the ancient history of native peoples that inhabited this land. Additionally, the geology and view of Upheaval Dome is absolutely fascinating. Finally, the rivers allow you to explore and see the canyons and travel along the water through this amazing national park. There is just so much diversity of scenery at Canyonlands. While Bryce Amphitheater has better scenery, Canyonlands just offers so much more variety. As a result, Canyonlands got a score of 13 out of 15 for scenery and scenery diversity, 1 point better than Bryce and Capitol Reef, and 2 points better than Arches. Next, let's talk about the crowds and solitude that you could expect at Canyonlands National Park. It is the 27th most visited national park in 2024 with just over 800,000 visitors. Canyonlands offers the best solitude experience of Utah's Mighty Five. Canyonlands is not only the largest of Utah's Mighty Five, it is also the least visited. Given its huge size and the number of trails available, the park could easily see this many people and still give you a sense of solitude and wilderness experience. However, there are locations where solitude is less likely. For example, 70% of the park visits only the Island in the Sky district. So some of the shorter, more popular hikes in this district have more of a crowding problem, but you could avoid this by starting early or hiking late. In contrast, the Needles District maybe sees a quarter of the total visitors to Canyonlands National Park, and maybe 5% visit the Maze and or Horseshoe Canyon districts. You can always expect to see more people on these hikes. Mesa Arch, Grandview Point, Aztec Butte, White Rim Overlook, and Upheaval Dome. They're simply just shorter hikes to some really amazing views, so you would just expect to see more people. While these hikes are not infested with people like at Bryce Amphitheater or Arches National Park, they are always busy. Also, if you could just avoid these popular months, crowding is even less of an issue. As a result, Canyonlands gets a score of 9 out of 10 for solitude. Canyonlands offers the best solitude of any of Utah's Mighty Five. It is 2 points better than Capitol Reef, 4 points better than Arches, and 5 points better than Bryce Canyon National Park. Next, let's talk about the animal and plant life at Canyonlands National Park. Canyonlands represents a true high desert environment dominated by highly adaptable plants and nocturnal animals. As to animal life, there are more than 50 species of mammals, 270 species of birds, numerous reptiles and amphibians. Canyonlands has animals like the desert bighorn sheep, jackrabbits, kangaroo rats, coyotes, ringtails. As to plant life, pinyon and juniper woodlands and different types of shrublands dominate much of the vegetation. However, in the riparian zones along the Green and Colorado rivers, the plant life is very different, even supporting water-loving Fremont cottonwood trees. Of course, as you would expect in a high desert environment, there are 9 species of cacti, hundreds of wildflowers, and biological soil crusts that are prevalent throughout the. You could expect to see pinyon pine, Utah juniper, blackbrush, Mormon tea, and various other cacti species. While Canyonlands has greater animal and plant life than Arches, it has less than the other parks of the Mighty Five. However, I just love this environment and my bias is going to show here a little bit. As a result, Canyonlands just barely gets a score of 8 out of 10 for animal and plant life. 1 point less than Bryce, the same score as Capitol Reef, even though Capitol Reef in reality has a little more life, and 1 point more than Arches National Park. Next, let's talk about the other recreational activities within Canyonlands. This park offers a tremendous variety of recreational activities beyond hiking and backpacking. You can bike pack or jeep the White Rim Road. Also, raft packing is very popular along the Colorado and Green Rivers. Canyonlands is famous for its biking, rafting, and kayaking and jeeping options. Beyond that, you also have some rock climbing in the Island in the Sky District and canyoneering in the Maze and Needles District. Finally, stargazing is amazing in this park, as it is recognized as an international dark sky park. There are also some amazing ranger-led programs. Compared to Arches, Capitol Reef, and Bryce Canyon, Canyonlands not only has a greater diversity of other recreational activities, it does those better. Therefore, Canyonlands gets a nearly perfect score of 9 out of 10, 1 point better than Arches and Capitol Reef, and 2 points better than Bryce. The addition of rafting the rivers really pushes the score to the next level. Let's talk about the amenities in Canyonlands National Park. This is perhaps where the park is a little lacking. Each district does have its own visitor center or ranger station with water and public bathrooms. However, Canyonlands only has 2 relatively small front country campgrounds. Willow Flat is in the Island of the Sky district and it only has 12 sites that are first come first serve and they're very primitive campsites. Squaw Flat is in the Needles district and has 26 sites. Some are first come first serve and others are reservation only. These are really competitive places to camp. So camping in Canyonlands National Park is really difficult. The lack of camping options within the park really requires that you get creative with where you stay. Alternative camping options near the Island of the Sky are Dead Horse Point State Park, which is a much larger campground. You also have BLM campgrounds near the Island of the Sky district. And finally, there are also some RV campgrounds. In the Needles district, you have Needles Outpost just outside the park with a nice campground and a resupply point with gas and showers. The Needles district also has some campgrounds on BML land that are really nice. There's no gas, food, restaurants, or laundry within Canyonlands National Park. Your best bet for any of these is Moab, but depending where you are, the drive to Moab can be anywhere from 45 minutes from the Island of the Sky to 2 hours from the Needle District. As a result, Canyonlands gets a fairly moderate score of 6 out of 10 for amenities. 1 point more than Capitol Reef, 2 points less than Arches, and 4 points less than Bryce. Next, let's talk about the revisitability of Canyonlands National Park. I spent 4.5 days in this park, but I barely scratched the surface of this amazing park. I hiked and backpacked maybe 1/4 of the trails in Canyonlands. I never even got a chance to explore the Maze District or the Horseshoe Canyon District. And there are still plenty of trails left for me to do in both the Needles District and the Island of the Sky District. This park is near the top of the parks that I want to revisit. Not to mention there are so many other activities I want to do here, like rafting one of the rivers, or jeeping the 100-mile White Rim Road, or maybe bikepacking it. There's simply so much left for me to do here, and I absolutely love the scenery. Only a few parks landed with a higher revisitability score than Canyonlands National Park for me. As a result, Canyonlands gets a revisitability score of 9 out of 10, the same as Bryce Canyon, 2 points higher than Capitol Reef, and 3 points higher than Arches. Next, let's talk about the ease of access to Canyonlands. Canyonlands gets a pretty low score for ease of access because it is about a 4-hour drive from the closest major airport, Salt Lake City, and driving between the various districts could take anywhere between 2 and 6 hours. While the Island of the Sky District, the Needles District, and the Maze District are one continuous park, there are no roads inside the park connecting the districts. Additionally, Horseshoe Canyon District is its own standalone district, a good bit away from the other 3 districts. As a result, Canyonlands gets a score of 2 out of 5 for ease of access, 1 point less than Bryce Canyon and Capitol Reef, and 2 points less than Arches National Park. Finally, let's talk about bonus points. I gave Canyonlands a single extra bonus point for the amazing backpacking experience that I had on the Chestnut Park Loop Trail and the incredible moment I experienced while seeing the confluence of the Green and Colorado rivers for the first time. Overall, Canyonlands National Park has a very high score of 83 out of 100. It currently sits in 9th place of the 35 parks that I've been to. The hiking and backpacking diversity between the districts and the diversity of recreational activities give this park a really high score. However, the park is held back a little bit by the amenities it offers and the ease of access it offers. Still, I imagine when this is all said and done, Canyonlands will remain a top 15 national park for me. All right, let's continue with ranking Utah's Mighty Five. In first place is, of course, Zion National Park. Zion is Utah's 3rd largest national park and is known for its stunning and dramatic landscape, massive sandstone cliffs, deep canyons, and diverse natural environments. Isaac Bahunin said of Zion that a man can worship God among these great cathedrals, as well as he can in any man-made church. Zion is famous for Zion Canyon, Angel's Landing, the Narrows, and Kolob Canyons. Let's talk about the hiking in Zion National Park. This park has over 90 miles of total hiking trails which traverse canyons and wilderness areas. It has the third most of Utah's Mighty Five. I'm going to put on the screen right here all the hikes that exist in Zion that I'm aware of. Everyone knows Zion for two main hikes, the iconic Angel's Landing and the beautiful Narrows, possibly the subway hike as well. But Zion is so much more. West Rim Trail was, in my opinion, the very best hike in Zion National Park. A distant second was Observation Point, which, in my opinion, offers better views than Angel's Landing. My third favorite hike was Angel's Landing, and my fourth favorite hike was the Narrows. I also liked the Watchman Trail, which was really pretty for sunset. And Taylor Creek Trail in Kolob Canyons was amazing. Hiking in Zion is just stunning everywhere you look. Zion has some pretty good hiking diversity, from short hikes to moderate hikes to 16-mile day hikes. Even though it has 110 fewer miles than Canyonlands and less diversity, Zion still gets a really good score for hiking because of the stunning scenery in which you're going to be hiking in. As a result, Zion gets a score of 13 out of 15 on hiking, the same as Canyonlands, 1 more point than Bryce and Capitol Reef, and 2 more points than Arches. Next, let's talk about backpacking in Zion National Park. There is no shortage of single-night backpacking options in Zion. My favorite option would be the West Rim Trail. It's 16 miles. I did it as a day hike, but it would be an ideal overnight backpack. You could also backpack the Narrows top down. You do need to get a permit for this. It's about 16 to 17 miles, but you'll be camping within a deep canyon next to a river, and it's just amazing campsites. The Virkin Creek Trail is also a very popular out and back backpack with approximately 15 miles. The East Rim Trail also offers various backpacking options, but part of it is closed due to a rock slide. Also, if you want to backpack in more of a desert environment, you have the Chinle Trail and Associates Trails, which could get you up to about 15, 16 more miles of backpacking. At first, I thought Zion's backpacking options were quite limited in terms of distance. Then I learned about the Zion Traverse, and this hike looks cool. It is 50 miles and connects several different trails that takes you from the very northwest part of Zion all the way to the southeast of Zion. With this trail, you will traverse the entire park. It looks amazing, and I can't wait to do it. Zion has pretty good diversity in terms of locations you could be backpacking. You could backpack in the desert, along a river, to cool coniferous forests, and exposed slick rock cliffs. As a result, Zion gets a really high score for backpacking of 13 out of 15, the same amount as Canyonlands, 2 more points than Capitol Reef, 3 more points than Bryce, and 6 more points than Arches. Next, let's talk about the scenery and scenery diversity of Zion National Park. The scenery in Zion is simply spectacular. Zion has the best scenery of Utah's Mighty Five from its diverse ecosystems, dramatic landscapes, massive sandstone cliffs, to its deep canyons. Zion will leave your jaw on the floor. Zion's canyons are so imposing. They're over 2,500 feet deep, carved by the North Fork of the Virgin River. You will find yourself in the middle of towering sandstone cliffs. The West Rim Trail will offer you views above the canyons and views for miles in all directions. The Narrows hike allows you to walk 16 miles along a riparian zone of the Virgin River, the forest that has been carving these deep canyons for millions and millions of years. Finally, you also have Kolob Canyons, which offer slightly different scenery and towering plateaus, Finger Canyons, and Kolob Arch. Zion is simply awe-inspiring when you go there. As a result, Zion gets a perfect score of 15 of 15 for scenery and scenery diversity. 2 points better than Canyonlands, 3 points better than Bryce and Capitol Reef, and 4 points better than Arches. Next, let's talk about Zion's crowding problem. Zion is the second most visited national park in 2024 with just under 5 million visitors. It is a small park to see that many people. There is no kind way to say this. Zion is a freaking zoo. When I first arrived at Zion, I went to the visitor center. It looked like downtown New York to me during rush hour. It almost made me instantly want to leave the park. It was awful. There's just no kind way of putting it. There's just too many people at Zion. There's precious few places where you could find solitude in Zion. If you can get away from the touristy hikes in Zion Canyon, such as Angel's Landing, the Narrows, the Grotto Trail, and several others, you will experience some solitude. For example, the West Rim Trail, Observation Point, and the Kolob Canyon trails, I was able to experience some degree of solitude there, so that definitely helped. Zion gets a score of 4 out of 10 for solitude. The same score as Bryce Canyon, 1 point less than Arches, 3 points less than Capitol Reef, and 5 points less than Canyonlands. Honestly, this may be a little high. I think I might be too kind to Zion here. Next, let's talk about the animal and plant life at Zion. Zion has the best diversity of Utah's Mighty Five. It is home to over 290 different species of birds, several species of fish, 78 species of mammals, and 37 species of reptiles and amphibians. Additionally, Zion is home to over 1,000 species of plants, ranging from its riparian zones along the Virgin River, the hanging gardens, from water seeps and Navajo stones, the desert shrub environment, the juniper/pinyon woodlands, and high plateaus with conifer and aspen forests. Zion ranks highest in biodiversity of Utah's Mighty Five for two principal reasons. First, you have the Virgin River and its forks, which provides water throughout the park. And second, you have the massive elevation difference in the park. Additionally, Zion is uniquely situated at the junction of three American geographic provinces. You have the Colorado Plateau, the Great Basin, and the Mojave Desert, all of which contribute to its unique biodiversity. As a result, Zion gets a really high score of 9 out of 10 for animal and plant life. The same score as Bryce, though I feel Bryce I may have given a little too much credit here. 1 point better than Capitol Reef and Canyonlands, and 2 points better than Arches. Next, let's talk about the other activities that you could do in Zion National Park. Zion offers some of the most diverse and quality recreational activities in the country, and certainly the best among Utah's Mighty Five. The park is one of the top destinations for rock climbing, but especially canyoneering. You could also bike the scenic drive in Zion Canyon. Horseback riding is also offered in the park. Additionally, Zion is recognized as an international dark sky, so stargazing is very spectacular at this park. Additionally, you could also kayak and float portions of the Virgin River. And finally, the park offers some really amazing ranger programs. Simply put, the quality and diversity of the other recreational activities in Zion is amazing. Therefore, Zion gets a high score of 10 out of 10 for other recreational activities. 1 point better than Canyonlands, 2 points better than Capitol Reef and Arches, and 3 points better than Bryce. Next, let's talk about the amenities in Zion National Park. Zion has 2 visitor centers, one in Zion Canyon and another in Coleb Canyon. Both have public restrooms and water is available. The park also has 2 campgrounds. The Watchman Campground has about 96 sites, and the South Campground has about 117 sites. All the way in the north, Zion also has a primitive campground near Lava Point that is free and has 6 additional campsites. You also have Zion Lodge. However, it is quite expensive. While there is no food, laundry, showers, or groceries in Zion, the small town of Springdale, a few miles south of Zion, has all of that and more. Additionally, there are outfitters within walking distance of the visitor center with gear, showers, food options, etc. There are also plenty of lodging options and pretty great restaurants in this area. As a result, Zion gets a very high score of 9 out of 10 for amenities. Next, let's talk about the revisitability of Zion National Park. I spent about 5 days in this park. While I did do about 2/3 of the available hiking trails, Zion still has trails I want to do. I still daydream about doing a 3 or 4 day backpack of the Zion Traverse, a 50-mile series of trails traversing the entire park from northwest to southeast. Additionally, the scenery in Zion is simply to die for. I imagine I'm going to go back often. As a result, Zion gets a revisitability score of 10 out of 10, 1 point better than Canyonlands and Bryce Canyon, 3 points better than Capitol Reef, and 4 points better than Arches. Next, let's talk about ease of access to Zion. Zion is less than 2.5-hour drive from a major airport in Las Vegas. Additionally, navigating between the different areas of the park is fairly straightforward and easy. The park does provide a bus into Zion Canyon and into the nearby town of Springdale, Utah at regular intervals. Finally, the park also provides private shuttle companies in order to do point-to-point hikes like I did for the West Rim Trail or the top-down trail of the Narrows. As a result, Zion gets a perfect score of ease of access. 1 point better than Arches, 2 points better than Bryce and Capitol Reef, and 3 points better than Canyonlands. I gave Zion 2 extra bonus points. The first was for the amazing West Rim Trail, the best hike anywhere in Utah's Mighty Five. The second point was for the amazing geology, the massive sandstone cliffs, and the deep canyons. The views from Angel's Landing and Observation Point were just stunning, and that deserved its own bonus point. Overall, Zion National Park gets a very high total score of 90 out of 100. Zion currently sits in 5th place out of 35 national parks that I've been to.